today. So every day we start fresh because we can't affect the past, but we damn sure can make a difference today.
Welcome to episode 42 of Shop Talk. It's Jennifer.
And Kari.
And we're back with a new episode to recap. True crime documentary 2.0. So honestly, I tweeted this last night. It was like, this was a much better true crime documentary than the first one. Like, the first one wasn't bad, but I don't know, it was harder to follow because it was like 3 different cases kind of wrapped up into one. This one, it was just like one case, but there were so many twists and turns.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of forgot what the first one was.
I know, same. Well, I forgot that it was only last season. Like, until I looked something up on IMDb today, and I was like, wait, that was only like a year ago? Seems like it was so much longer. But yeah, and like everyone was involved. Like Bailey, Smitty, I mean, Wesley was even involved. Like, it was just awesome. And it had good callbacks too. Like, I know people had pointed out Lucy's like tattoo. I didn't even catch that. Wesley and Angela, like, you could kind of tell that they were like geeking out because they kind of talked about, you know, all of the stuff a few episodes ago. Lucy was like, you know, so giddy to be doing it again. Yeah, so it was a good episode. We had good sassy moments. We had, you know, good Chenford crumbs. We had just everything. So yeah. We do have a little bit of news. We're on another 3-week hiatus. So I know it kind of sucks, but like, it's also not a big deal. Like, we've done it before. We'll be good. You know, we'll just, 3 weeks will fly by. And we did get a promo for the new episode. So it looks like we're getting Brolin. So that's fun. And maybe they'll wear plaid at some point. Who knows? Do you want to take the next piece of news?
Yeah, so last week, Deadline reported that Kat Foster and Felix Solis will guest star opposite Niecy Nash in the like spinoff for The Rookie. They will be in the 2-episode arc of like The Rookie's current 4th season. Apparently, Foster will guest star as Special Agent Casey Fox. She's kind of like a rule follower, but also very, very like smart and like a team player. Solis will play Special Agent Matthew Garza, who's like a veteran of the FBI and is very much like a like kind of old-fashioned, like stuck in his ways kind of person. But it looks like he's a senior agent who's on the cusp of being promoted to a leadership role. So it's kind of probably will work itself into his storyline. So
yeah, it sounds like it could be a good backdoor pilot. I mean, even if it doesn't end up leading to the show, even if it doesn't end up leading to the show, seems like it could just be like, you know, a good storyline. So yeah.
Yep. And then as always, you guys know we always have to talk about Eric and Rosalind have their podcast still going on. So they're coming out always with new episodes, which I just think it's so fun that they like still are doing it, even though like Rosalind's in Puerto Rico filming.
Oh yeah, they're doing it like we do it, miles apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Over Zoom, like I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
So they're still doing that, working hard to put good content out for us. So it's always exciting.
I also just like love podcasts. So yeah, so that's kind of it for the news. We'll just jump into the episode because it was kind of a crazy one. There was a lot of like twists and turns. But it flowed really nicely. There was only one storyline to follow, which made it easy for us to kind of break down. But it was easy also to like live tweet too. So
it was one of those ones like if you like drew not a Venn diagram, but just like a web, like, and you put like, you know, Aaron's name in the middle or whatever, and then it just like branch off. There's a bunch of different branches. So.
Yeah. yeah, so we start the episode and John's talking about how Aaron came to the program and had the cards stacked against him. And he's even mentioning like how Aaron had to like sue the LAPD to get into the academy. And, I mean, we all know this from before because Aaron had kind of mentioned it. But then, John's like, well, what had happened to him in Paris never left him. And did we ever get the opening credits to the rookie? Like the scene?
I like the theme song, you mean?
Yeah. Because I
No.
don't remember. Okay. I was like, did I miss that last
It
night?
was
Or did we just like
interesting
roll
'cause
right
it was
into it?
it was like silent, like without the theme song, but like the title card was like didn't change like color or
Yeah.
anything. So.
Yeah. I was like, did I just miss it? Or yeah. But then John mentions that Aaron was desperate to like reset how the world saw him, and that's why he was okay with the reality show, but it all blew up in his face. So like John's kind of talking him up, and then we see Nyla sit down, and as soon as she walks in, you can just tell that like her interview is just gonna be like a whole like mood. Um, and especially compared to Lucy, who's like so excited to do this. Like Nyla's just skeptical. She just walks in and she's like, why am I doing this? Um, but then the interviewer is like, well, is like, did being pregnant make what you went through with Aaron more stressful? And she quickly shuts that down and she's like, I'm not here to talk about me. Yeah. I mean, can we get that in a GIF? Like if it isn't already, because I mean, I loved that. And so then Nyla talks about the reality show and how it was his mom's idea, like a way to help rebrand his image. And when asked about the title, she's just like, no comment. And okay, I wasn't sure if this was, I know that they had all kind of looked at the camera, right? But I was like, did Makia break the fourth wall there and look at the camera? Or is the fourth wall like when you talk to it too? I couldn't remember.
You would think that since I studied TV and film in college, you would think I would know
I
this.
know,
But I
same.
don't.
But like even Lucy had looked at the camera because we had seen it in the
Right.
sneak peek too.
Well, it kind of depends because, like, I mean, is it really considered a fourth wall though if like the camera that's like the documentary camera crew is like the actual camera crew
Right. Yeah, I
while
don't
they're being
know.
interviewed, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because like Alexi was, doing the interviews. So
Oh, that was him? Oh, I didn't
yeah,
realize.
that's what someone said. And I was like, oh, okay. Someone
I
also
didn't
said that
realize.
they saw part of the like director, um, the
The
slate,
slate?
the slate,
Yeah.
yeah. They'd
Yeah,
seen
that I
it,
saw.
yeah, like in the sneak peek or something. So yeah, I don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know. I was considering it fourth wall, but then yeah, like you said, I mean, is it
Well, because
really
like I mean,
the fourth
you
wall when they're just talking to the camera that they always talk to? I don't know.
yeah. Well, because there's like the camera that like because you could see the camera crew
Mhm.
like being filmed by the actual like the rookies camera crew. So
Yeah,
that's kind of where I think of like the different walls, like the like coming down, being blurred, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
If someone else actually does know and can help us out with that, that'd be swell because I
yeah.
really don't know.
Yeah, it's like the lines are blurred or something, but it was also kind of meta to like have like the unaired footage airing on the show. I don't
Mhm.
know. It was all just kind of, it was kind of like, am I watching like a real documentary, or is this something that's like done by a TV show? It
Yeah,
was just
even my
interesting.
sister like came in when I was watching and she was like, "Oh, it's like a different kind of episode." And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like she was surprised.
Yeah. Well, then Nyla's like, or the interviewer asks, what she thinks about the title. And she's like, I'm not going to say that dumbass title. Like, you're not going to get me to say it. But the show is called Every Rose Has a Thorson. So, I mean, I don't know. That's an interesting reality show title for sure. But I feel like, why not? Like, play on words there.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, we see the opening credits for it. And I was just like, all right. I mean, because we had seen the behind the scenes footage and like clips of them like working, like filming at that place. So I mean, we kind of figured that it was going to be Aaron's house. But I was like, that's interesting. And then we also see him like give a tour of his family's house and hear from his parents. And he's like, I would ride my tricycle like up and down this hallway. And I just have to ask, like, does he still live with his parents or does he live out on his own? Because I feel like he's still with his parents.
I don't know.
But I could also see him being like, well, I've got enough money, like I'll move out onto my own.
Was it childhood bedroom when he was going through like like past his room or whatever?
Yeah.
Real quick. I don't know. I was just so caught off guard by the fact that we got to like see his father.
Yeah, because we'd only met his mom so far.
Yeah. So that's what like got me. I was like, wait, who is that guy that's like with that like Aaron and his mom? And I was like, that's not what's his name? The producer, obviously. So I was like, who is that?
Yeah. Well, then like we see Angela being interviewed next, and she's asked about Morris, and she's like totally in her detective mode, and I love it. But she explains, that he was hot from doing several award-winning documentaries, and had a real gift for earning people's trust. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, he did kind of have like a trustworthy demeanor, but it was also like you kind of had to watch out for him too. And so, she was like, he was good at convincing people that he was on their side and, that they have a say on the final cut when they really didn't. And then Wesley and Baby Jack like crashed the interview. And Wesley's just like thrown off by the camera crew and Angela like sitting on the couch and he's all like awkward. He's like, I forgot that the interview was happening today. And so Angela's like, well, we've already started. So Wesley's just like walking through the room with the baby and the stroller. And he's just like, oh yeah, don't forget to tell them about the forensic expert and the French prosecutor. And, he even tells Angela that like, like about the video that he sent her. And so then Wesley, like, we don't even transition to another scene. It just like cuts and Wesley is sitting like right there next to her. And she just kind of like looks uncomfortable with him there. And I kind of would be too. I would be like, you're not a cop. Like, you've probably had a few interactions with Aaron at the most. And like, this is just weird. But also, they've like dissected everything about, the case and everything on their own anyway. So why not interview Lopez? So then Wesley's like, I'm about a decade older than Aaron, but I had a similar upbringing to him, rich parents, private school. Wesley's just lucky that social media didn't exist. And he's like, yeah, I would just have as much embarrassing footage as Aaron did. And Angela's so sassy. She's like, of what? Studying tort reform at 15. And Wesley's like a mixture of shocked and offended at her saying that. And, he's just like, I got into trouble. And Angela's like, yeah, okay, you did. Sure. Like, whatever. So then Wesley reiterates the point of like, when you grow up in this world, you don't hear no a lot, which can make you a real like ass. And then he like kind of stops there and he's like, can make you a really selfish person. And then we cut to like Instagram stories of Aaron and his swanky lifestyle. Like we see him with new shoes, we see him with Patrick and like doing a pool party. And it was definitely like, okay, yeah, you got the vibe that he did not hear no a lot. So then, we kind of cut over and we see Yvonne being interviewed. And she says, like, in regards to the Instagram story of Aaron spraying champagne everywhere, it was $30,000 bottle and he didn't even drink a sip. And so then, she said that he had lost his mind. And so she had to get him out of his comfort zone. One thing that I really liked about this episode was they didn't have like unnecessary transitions in there to interview people. It seemed seamless, like for the most part. It was like, okay, we saw those Instagram stories of him from Angela talking about like his life and how he hadn't heard no. And then we cut over to his mom and she was talking about, the bottle of champagne, and all of that. And it was just like, we didn't need some awkward transition with them, knocking on a door or something. So, yeah, so then she thought a semester abroad would help him mature. And so she sent him to Paris. The way that she said this, it was like she had a smile on her face, like it was no big deal. Like, yeah, I could send my kid to Paris, like no biggie for a semester, Yeah, he was fine. I just like, made sure that he was taken care of money wise and had a good place and all of that. And I don't know, it's just like, okay. Obviously, they just like think of everything as like, oh, it's no big deal. We can afford that. Like, so we drop a couple thousand on that. So then, we meet one of Aaron's friends and Paris classmate Everest via interview. And she shares like how they met. And then we also meet Rowan, who says at first, like Aaron and Patrick seemed like entitled people, but once you got to know them, they were cool. He also said that Patrick was the funniest, and what you saw on Instagram was not like who they really were. And they all became friends. They were inseparable. We even see a picture of them like with suitcases and just like ready to travel anywhere. And so Aaron's just like, yeah, it feels like it was so long ago. And he's nervous about the reunion because he hasn't seen them since the trial. And they graduated from college and got jobs, and he went to prison. But now he's a cop, so that's good. That's growth for him. But then he was like, my friends do believe my innocence, like that I'm sure of. So then, like again, here was another good transition. We go and we see Aaron walk outside to meet Everest and Rowan. And Aaron, I thought that this was interesting. Like Aaron walks out of his house first, gets like maybe a few feet away from the door and is like, I gotta go back in. Like he has to get into the right mindset to see his old friends, like from his old lifestyle. So then Rowan's like, you look different, like you're a different guy. And Aaron's like, I'm sorry, this is weird, like, but he's just happy to see them. So then we see the low battery notification like come on to the camera screen. And the cameraman's like, I gotta go change a battery, only to find blood and someone laying on the ground in that like cold blood. So Angela explains that it's Morris Mackey's throat that had been cut, and he had been dead for approximately 4 hours. So essentially, everyone who stepped foot in that house that day were the initial suspects. So then this was like the first sight of Chenford that we got. Like, and at this point, we're like, what, maybe 10 minutes in, and it was like, okay, where's Chenford? Like, I love seeing everyone else, but we're missing like a dynamic duo here. So then we see Chenford, and it was essentially the sneak peek that we had all like, lost our minds over. And Lucy's just like so giddy and excited to do this. And I just have to point out that her like little foot kick was the best part for me. Like, and I noticed it in the sneak peek. Like, I know that I sent you a message and it's like, it's honestly that for me. Like that and her smile and like her little wave, and she was just adorable. And then she's like, yeah, I got so many compliments the last time and I really loved doing it. But then, when Tim's asked if he saw it, he was just like, he just said bluntly, no, I did not see it. So, I mentioned to Lucy, it said, she got so many comments, and she like looks over to Tim and her eye roll when Tim's like, can we just get started? Like, they are so married. Someone please tell them that they're married, because I don't even think that they know it at this point. But Chenford says that they were the first responders on the scene, and when explaining the scene in the case, Lucy's like using colorful language. And Tim's like, yeah, there was like everything that was shot at the scene, like using phones, cameras, videos, all of that, social media, didn't help us a bit. So Tim like even looks over to Lucy and he's like, why are you so happy? And she's like, well, if we give them evocative sound bites, like they'll give us more coverage. And she like even asks the interviewer if that's right. And the interviewer is like, can we just get back to the interview? Like,
Yeah, I'm just surprised like Tim didn't really like smirk at that though, because that sounded like something
yeah,
he would fix. The interview was like, can we get back to the murder?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I was just like, well, Lucy was, I don't know, like I tweeted it last night. It was like, okay, they are the Grumpy and Sunshine like duo. Like we all know this at this point. But in this episode, it was like I mean, it was to the next level, it seemed like. Um, so yeah, so then we see like Lucy and Aaron talking, because at this point they're on the crime scene and the show is still filming. So Angela walks in and is like, shut off the cameras, this is my crime scene. And she is commanding the crime scene, just being a badass. And I'm like, yes, queen, go off, please. Like, I love Detective Angela Lopez. Um, and so then, we kind of see Bailey come out. She tells Tim like there's nothing that they could do. And, Morris was already dead. So she explains that the paramedic crew was short staffed. And since they're all EMT trained, she was subbing in. So the interviewer was like, but why were you called in? Like, he was obviously dead. And Bailey's like, well, he could have came back to life, even looking like that. I've seen it happen before. And so then the interviewer asks, like, what did she think at the time? And, did it seem like Aaron, had a hand in it? And I don't know. I was like, have Bailey and Aaron had a lot of scenes together that I just don't remember or something? Because
No.
I was like, these questions just make it seem like she's very friendly with him, and we've never even seen it. Like, okay, it's just weird. So then the interviewer because Bailey was like, oh, Aaron would never do anything like that. I'm like, how do you know that though? Like, anytime that she is in the episode, I feel like Aaron isn't. So I was like, okay, that's just weird, but all right. So then, the interviewer is like, and you're confident in saying that considering your ex-husband. And so Bailey's just like at a loss for words. And at this point, I was like, wait, this is supposed to be like about Aaron. Like, why are you bringing up Jason into this? Like, what? So then, she's like, well, maybe I'm not the best judge of character because I did at one point marry a sociopath. So then, like, we cut back to Tim. And I mean, at this point, the episode is just like wild. Like, there's just a lot of things going on. We're asking about Jason. We're just like, Lucy speaking with colorful language. Like, a lot of stuff is happening. So we go back to Tim. He's like, we judge by the facts. And, the facts at first didn't say much. So then he talks to Rowan and, he's like, oh, I was in the kitchen with Everest, but, she had snuck off to Crafty once or 4 times, which, I mean, I would do the same. Like, why not? And, Tim asked Aaron's dad, like, when was the last time he saw Morris? Tim and Lucy are the first responding officers, but like also just doing the most here. So, Lucy talks to Aaron's mom and Everest, and we learn more about them. So then we go back to the district. Aaron's in the interrogation room. Gray, Angela, and John like all come in, and Aaron's like, we have to do this here. Like, why can't we do it anywhere else? And Gray's like, well, I'm required to tell you that you don't have the right to remain silent, and anything that he says can and will be used against him. So basically, like, the Miranda rights that the cops would normally read you is totally getting flipped on him. And basically, like, if he refuses to fully and completely answer all of Angela's questions, he's fired. And John's like, I'm here to protect you as your union rep. But it's his choice to be there, like Gray had said. So, he could choose not to cooperate, but he'll lose his job. So Aaron's like, well, I'm gonna comply, and signs the papers. So then Aaron starts off right away saying, like, I didn't kill Morris, but when I saw him lying there like Patrick, it brought back memories. So Angela's like, well, it's common knowledge that you and Morris like weren't on the best of terms. And we get flashbacks to last week's episode, which was cool to see. I was glad that it wasn't like 3 episodes out, like, past, like, from this episode. It was just, we only had to wait a week. So then, Angela, yeah, she mentions that it's common knowledge. And Aaron's like, well, I didn't like what Morris did to Patrick's dad. It was exploitation. It wasn't, it was very mean and callous. So, but Aaron's like, but I wouldn't kill him for that. So, I'm not the guilty one here. And we go back over to Nyla. She's speaking on the situation, that happened in last week's episode. And, mentions that it was a random reunion and Morris and his cameraman were just like there. And it just kind of was wrong time, wrong place. But she sticks up for Patrick's dad, saying he was a grieving dad who threw a punch. And, Aaron, who she called Mr. Thorson. And I was like, that's just weird. I don't know. But yeah, they just had to book him, but he was let go. So, Patrick's dad is then interviewed and he's like, well, Aaron's not the only killer in the family. And, Morris gave Aaron's dad a clear motive from the reality show. So at this point, it was like, okay, who do we believe here? And who do we even think is capable of this? But then we got a plot twist. So, Patrick's dad had told them that, Aaron's not the only killer. And Aaron's dad had a clear motive from the reality show to kill Morris. Because his dad Lincoln had walked in on Yvonne and Morris, getting cozy and friendly. But we find out that it was all staged and there's footage to prove that. So then it was also mentioned that Aaron's dad was the suspect in a murder 20 years ago too. So at this point, I'm like, okay, it's got to be Aaron's dad, right? Just kind of makes sense. But then it was also only 20 minutes into the episode, and I was like, it's not this easy. It's not. So then they get into Aaron's dad and his past, and Lucy's like, oh yeah, his song from Flex and Flow called "Make the Noise" is one of my go-to karaoke songs. Tim's face throughout this entire sequence was just gold. It kept getting better. And, when she said karaoke, his face scrunches up. And then she starts singing it. And he just looks over unamused. And then she really gets into it. And he almost has a concerned look on his face. Almost he wanted to say, please stop singing. But then he was also like, but I love seeing her sing too. And I love seeing her be so happy. So then Lucy looks at Tim and she sees these looks on his face and she's like, can I be interviewed alone? I don't like this judgment coming from him. It was just so good.
Yeah.
So then again, I was like, okay, why is Bailey being interviewed? I'm okay with Bailey, but I don't know, it just didn't really make sense. Apparently she was a flow girl and was a background dancer in this music video. And we find out more about what Bailey can do. And they cut over to John and he's like, wait, what? What did she do? And I mean, that's a reaction video if I ever saw one. Just what? But yeah, she said she was asked by a scout in high school if she could be in a video. And the interviewer is also like, well, what's on your shirt? And it's a capoeira. And we find out that she teaches that too. And it was funny because they had her name and her occupation down there, right?
Yeah.
But they just kept adding to it. And I was like, I just want to see Bailey's resume because at this point it's 3 pages long.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's legitimate stuff. It's not she, it's just doing it once and it's happening for 2 months or whatever. But then, she did say that she saw Flex and Flo argue, but they were brothers and, brothers fight. So they're talking all about this Flex and Flo stuff. And Yvonne's like, well, it was an alleged feud and it's gotten ridiculous and out of hand. But then we get Gray and we learn a little bit more about Gray. And he's like, oh yeah, they did fight because I was there as a rookie officer. And we get a flashback photo of Gray and I was like, oh my gosh, I love to see it. And we find out that his TO and him got a 415 call. And he couldn't hear what they were fighting about, but Lincoln was still pissed at Calvin. And Gray's like, it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. And we got a shots fired call. While I was watching this scene the second time, I was like, okay, am I really watching a true crime documentary, a real one? Because Richard brought his A game to that. And I felt like he made it seem like a real documentary scene. Just in the way that he talked and his body language or something, his expressions, I was like, dang, I feel like this is Dateline or something.
Yeah.
So then Gray's like, it was my first homicide and I'll never forget it. So we kind of get that. And like Lincoln is interviewed too, and he's like, I had nothing to do with it. And at this point, I'm like, okay, how does this tie back to Morris? Because I feel like we're going down a whole different path now. So then, Lucy, like, it goes back over to Chenford, and Lucy's like, oh, she just seems like she knows everything about the Thorson family past, which I love. She is like so like enthralled with this whole case and this whole like history. And Tim's like, the aura of guilt haunted Lincoln's reputation like a dark shroud. Lucy's face here, like, oh my god, she was so proud of him. I noticed it on my second watch that she like bit her lip and then she touched his arm, which that I noticed on my first watch. She like touched his arm and he's just like, thanks, like nonchalantly, like it's no big deal. And I don't know, I think I tweeted last night, it was like, that he had no thoughts running in his brain when she touched him. Like everything just like left because he was like, she's touching my arm. Like she is touching my arm. And I might have replied to with that. But then like, Lucy, once she kind of, once she sees that Tim is like, it's no big deal, really. She like turns back to the camera and she's like, gotta wipe the smile off her face then. Because she's just so dang proud of her husband, husbands. Like, why not? Oh my gosh, it was so good. The Chenford crumbs that we got in this episode, like, I mean, we all started spiraling once we saw that sneak peek of them like being interviewed together, and we were like, oh, this is gonna be a good episode for Chenford. And boy, was it. So then, Yvonne was like, she says she wasn't sleeping with Morris, but it was for the show and staged, and she can prove the like fake relationship. So we see that she's correct, that she wasn't lying. And John's just like, well, I can, arrest you for obstruction. And here again, like the only thing that she's worried about is getting that soundbite for the show. Like she even wants John to redo it. And so Yvonne's like, well, before he came to work for the Thorson family, like he wasn't just a newbie, like he had enemies before. And then we get another just like gold moment of the show with Smitty being interviewed. I mean, I don't know, having Bailey being interviewed for like the Flow Girl and stuff was a little like off the wall. It was kind of like, okay, why does this really matter? But like Smitty being there, I was like, okay, this is like really just what is going on right now. Okay, so Smitty, like, the interviewer's like, I hear there's rumors that you have insight about the QAnon angle on the case. And Smitty's just like trying to change the subject in a way. And he's like, have you ever tried to put toothpaste back into the tube? And he's like, have you done it? Like, I have, and it's basically impossible. And I mean, I just like started like hysterically laughing last night when I was watching this. I was like, what is happening? So then
I
just what?
He was trying to be like, use like
an analogy.
Metaphor, an analogy. Yeah. But it just to start off with that, it definitely did seem like he was just trying to avoid everything.
And then it honestly just keeps getting better. And the interviewer is like, oh, let's get back on track. And, the interviewer is like, what is Q trying to tell people with this Q drops? The cryptic messages. And Smithy's like, oh, I wasn't trying to say anything. I was just typing and just got carried away. And I'm like, Smithy, you just like incriminated yourself, dude.
I didn't even catch it at first because I was like, wait, he said I? like the I was and I was like, what? I was like, typing what? And then I was just, because I didn't really understand. I didn't know what these cryptic things were. I was just, it was going so fast. I was so thrown off.
Well, like everyone noticed like his full name down there on the screen. And I didn't even notice that like on my first watch because I was busy live tweeting. But I was, I'd seen people say like Quigley and Q. And I was like, well, we already knew that from the union rep thing, but okay. So then Smithy, he was like, well, I wasn't trying to say anything. But Smithy's like, oh yeah, I'm cute. And we cut to everyone's reactions. And it's just the best thing ever. Nyla's like, I'm sorry, what? And John's the first one, and he's like, Smitty is cute. And Gray's reaction is quite honestly the best one ever. He has like his entire head like in the palm of his hands, and he's just like, Lord, give me strength. And I've had like friends that have watched it like today, and they just like texted that, and I was like, you've gotten to that part, huh?
I need that to be a GIF because like I had to like pause my television. I was laughing so much. I was like, oh my word, this is why Gray is my spirit animal.
Seriously, we need that as a gift. Like,
It
if
was
someone wants
so
to create
funny.
that, oh my god, it was so good. I would use that gift on like a daily basis. I
It
know
was
that I would.
so funny. Or just like it doesn't even have to, I mean, the Lord give me strength was good too, but just like even just the like face
Yeah,
because he is that emoji. Like
yeah.
legit.
Well, then like we get Lucy's what, and I don't. We had like other gifts of, we had gifts of those sayings, but we didn't get Grace. And I was like, but Grace is the one that I feel like we need the most. So then Smithy's like, well, yeah, writers use pseudonyms. Like Q is my first initial. So, and then he like gets off track and he's like, is my name down there? And Q is in quotations next to it.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote in the outline, I was like, he has the attention span of a squirrel. And I like love it. Like this man, because he wants to like just jump off onto like any random thought. But then it's also like, is he trying to like not tell the entire truth? Like it's just so good. So then it just didn't stop. Like at this point, I'm just like hysterically laughing, like I'm in tears. And I'm like not even tweeting because I'm like, I just don't even know what I can say. So then, he's like, well, I didn't mean to start it on purpose. It was an accident. And Tim's like, yeah, that sounds like a Smitty thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need that in a gift too, please.
Yeah.
And apparently Smitty was trying to start the fan fiction club for This Is Us.
So
And
they
things
mean like
got
the
out of hand.
NBC show, right? Like
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah. They literally put it in quotation marks too. And I was like, wait a minute. So Smitty watches This Is Us, no doubt. And he's trying to write fan fiction. I was like, is Smitty a fangirl, like at heart?
That kills me. That
I
kills me.
was, I just like, I could not stop laughing. And he mistakenly mixed cough syrup with diet pills when he was trying to write a satanic alien storyline for Jack and Rebecca. And he woke up the next morning and read it, and nothing made sense. And that's how he got QAnon and fanfic mixed up. And it's like, wait, what wild ride did we just go on?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, what
yeah,
got me was like he left it up because he had so many new followers or
yeah,
whatever. He just does not care. Like he does not care about the chaos that he causes
no,
as long as it benefits him.
he's a chaos creator.
Yep.
I need a full hour of just Smitty. Like, give Smitty a true crime documentary to like be interviewed in for the full hour, and I feel like it would just be the best thing ever.
Yeah. Or just like a compilation of like all the cases he's done or like been
Oh my god,
involved in.
yes. I want to
Or
know
like
more
just
about
the
his time
lack
as a
of work that
rookie.
he's done.
Yeah, yeah, because he's a quality over quantity person,
Mhm.
which is a good thing and a bad thing. But I also want to know more about his rookie period, because I just know that that was chaotic, like probably more chaotic than John's.
Oh God, probably. Because at
And
least John tries.
yeah,
I mean, Smitty has come through a few times, but like
yeah,
very rarely.
yeah.
Very rarely.
Can we just have the spinoff be of Smitty, please? Because
Yeah.
I would watch that like on repeat all of the time.
I wonder if he'll get to meet any of the like characters that are on this like proposed spinoff though, because that would be hilarious.
I hope so. And I
That would
hope
be
that like
too funny.
Niecy Nash's character or someone like drags him.
Please. Oh my God. Yeah, she's so what? Because I've seen her do like other shows
Yeah,
of like a similar genre, like of the rookie, where she like completely just tells it like it is, like just
yeah,
drags everyone.
yeah.
It's funny.
I
So
also want to see more of Nyla with Smitty, because I just feel like that is just like gold content right there that they're not capitalizing on, especially Nyla being pregnant, because I feel like her mood is just so heightened, like her sassy mood, and I
mhm,
need all of it.
yeah.
So
that would be so funny. Yeah. So they like they come off like Smitty, obviously. And they turn their attention to Connor Hart, who was a follower of QAnon. And he was they showed like before the break or whatever, like this like hooded figure in this like QAnon like video. And Connor was, well, he works as a cameraman for Morris, for Aaron's family's like reality show. And he's brought in to be questioned. He maintains that he's innocent when like Chenford's interviewing him. And since he was manning a camera the whole time, like even during the time Morris was murdered, Connor ends up being cleared. I just enjoyed Lopez's commentary though, because Wesley like couldn't figure out a word to use because he was like, Connor was, and then Angela fills in, she's like, deranged, and Wesley's like, let's say reality challenged. Like Wesley's so nice, and Angela just like doesn't care at all, and it's hilarious. And I don't know why they had to have a reenactment of John like scrubbing through hours of the reality show footage.
yeah.
Because they made the character 20 Nathan Fillion's like actually 50, right? So the character is like 25 years
Yeah.
younger. Maybe the actor that played the reenactment actor is like 30, maybe, okay, but at least 20 years younger. So I was just like beside myself. I was like cracking up, and like I couldn't even like really pay attention because I was so thrown for a loop of like how much younger this reenactment actor looked than John Nolan.
Everyone was like, that was supposed to be Nolan, and I was like, it was like, I don't know, I guess I just didn't catch it, but I was kind of like, why is there this random guy? And then I also thought, well, everyone's being interviewed or is like super close to the case, like maybe they just needed some like random cop. But I'm also like, can we see more of him? Because he looks like he was really young, like he could be a rookie or something. But
yeah, so like it's supposed to show like John going through the reality show footage, which includes the stuff that Yvonne forgot to give them. And Nolan found a tape of Morris saying that he knows who really killed Patrick Hayes. And that was filmed minutes before he was murdered. And so it's kind of like the big, like, well, like one of the first like big breaks in the case, I guess. Cut over, Aaron's being interviewed. I noticed it was like in the same spot that Chenford was interviewed last season for the true crime episode, which was fun. And then like Chenford was kind of interviewed where like Nyla was last season.
Yeah.
In the like, what's it? Roll call room. That's the thing I'm looking for.
I love that they all were interviewed in different spots. And like Angela was interviewed at home.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's odd, but okay.
Well, because John was interviewed last season at home.
Oh, okay.
And I guess, well, Bailey was I guess it's their house now, right? It's not like just Nolan's house. It's like Bailey and Nolan's.
Is it their house? She's moved in?
I don't know. She was there.
I don't know, but she always seems to be there. So maybe.
Maybe it'll eventually be their house. I don't know. But anyway. But yeah, so Aaron's interviewed. He's, like he hates when people refer to Patrick as his roommate. They were like best friends and like brothers. I enjoyed that he quoted Nyla with like, we look at the facts. But then it's kind of funny though, because they cut over to Nyla, right? And like she's a little bit contradicting him because like she knows, she's like, yeah, sure, there's a connection between Morris knowing who killed Patrick and then Morris getting murdered minutes later. And it cuts back over to Chenford again. Lucy's quick to be like, there's not a chance that like Aaron was the killer like all along, because the French police fumbled through the whole investigation. And Tim chimes in with the paparazzi contaminated like Patrick's murder scene. And Aaron's DNA was on the knife that was used like as the murder weapon. But as Lucy points out, the knife from Aaron and Patrick's kitchen. She's like, yeah, okay, so if we went to your house, how much you'd want to bet we'd find your DNA all over your stuff? Like, she's just like done with it. Like, she's exasperated now.
Yeah.
But then Lucy, being Lucy, is like, she backtracks and asks Tim. Then that's the camera people. I mean, she looks at the camera people,
Yeah.
but she doesn't actually ask the camera people. She's like, was that too mean? And Tim was like, no, it actually felt good. That was a dumb question. And I obviously didn't do it justice how Eric did it. He just deadpanned that line so brilliantly. It made me laugh so much.
Yeah.
Of course, if I'm being completely honest, I didn't actually like know what they said anyway, because like as soon as Tim crosses his arms, I'm like a goner. So like I literally had to like rewind because I was just like staring. It's fine. Yeah, no, but it was brilliantly done.
Anytime Tim crosses his arms, it's over for Kari. Like,
Yep,
you're done.
it is.
I mean, honestly, same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I have looked at your tweet with that screenshot multiple times. So, yeah.
Yep.
If I could like it multiple times too, that would be real great. But I can't. So,
yeah. And so I just like, yeah, but just the, like, I think I had retweeted it on our account. It was kind of like, sunshine and like sunshine protector of like Tim being, like being like, that was a dumb question. Like he was done with it too.
Yeah.
And kind
Tim
of
was
like
done with it from the start though. Like he
Yeah.
sat down and he was like, I really don't want to be here, but like my wife is here and I get to be next to her, so
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. And like he was a little bit like, I feel like maybe a little bit proud though of her for being
Yeah.
like just, kind of dropping the like, trying to be poetic and colorful for a bit, and she's just like, now wait a minute, like no.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it was great. That was a great moment for Chenford. And then we cut back over to Lopez, our other favorite duo, and they agree that like the handling of the case was ridiculous. Wesley's like, even the forensics were compromised. The theory that Patrick was killed by Aaron for not doing chores was like insanely wrong. And like, besides, they had a housekeeper to do all those chores.
Yeah.
And like, plus Aaron's not a psychopath, which Wesley's like, you'd have to be to kill someone over that. And Angela's joking. She's like, well, I'd stab him. And she points to Wesley for not doing the dishes, but we're married. So like, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fun. And like, I think it was this moment that like they, Wesley and Angela had like their hands like in the same kind of like
Yeah.
crisscross, like fingers interlaced together, which I thought was fun because like Chenford usually does that, and so it was fun to have like Lopez do it for a scene. And like, so the interviewers trying to kind of like figure out like, get some kind of dirt on Aaron, kind of, because they're trying this angle, right? And like even Nolan's like, no, their friendship was fine. Like Aaron and Patrick were fine. They were, like going out to parties and stuff. That doesn't sound like a friendship that's falling apart. And Aaron's football injury was the reason why he was taking drugs, like prescription drugs, which wouldn't cause Aaron to become a killer. It just, as Nolan said, it causes him to not be able to operate heavy machinery, which I thought was a good little one-liner for Nolan. So Nyla says that the French police took one look at a young black man and didn't even give anyone else a second look. The documentarian even like interviewed the police and had said that they had led a very biased investigation. And it like cuts back over to like Aaron, because Colette's boyfriend Julian was identified. Colette was the girl that like Patrick had brought home one night or whatever after a party. And her boyfriend Julian was identified, which was what led to Aaron's release from jail. And it cuts over to like Lucy, and she was like, a group of internet sleuths were the ones who found Colette's boyfriend. And the interviewer was like kind of trying to figure out like we went on those internet sites and maybe possibly post under the handle of True Crime Junkie. And Tim's like, seriously? Like he just completely like he turns his whole body and looks at her
Yeah.
and is like, seriously? And
Yeah,
she's
it's
like,
more than just like turning his neck at this point. Like he's turning his entire body, crossing his arms, and just like giving her the look.
yeah. And she's like, I may have posted on there once or twice, maybe. And so like Julian was the son of like a powerful like French finance person. And so like the police like they knew about Julian before Aaron's first trial, which like is obviously not okay, but like Aaron was kind of in a way like glad that it happened how it happened because like it got him his retrial. But the unidentified DNA that they found on the knife like wasn't Julian, so it like wasn't him. Like he wasn't like a person that was involved. And what got Aaron through like his year and a half prison sentence was like his mom helped him. She even bought an apartment in Paris so she could like visit him every week. And so this is where the storyline kind of cuts to Aaron's mom being accused of murdering Patrick. And even Nolan jumped the gun because like they found out like the documentary people like dug up some footage of Aaron's mom in Paris the day of Patrick's murder instead of being home in Los Angeles like she originally claimed. So that's why even Nolan was like really, really quick to be like, okay, yeah, so you did this, you killed Patrick, and yada yada yada. And Aaron was understandably upset by his mom lying to him. Turns out she was in Paris for a hookup, so like she was like, and they were like together all the time or whatever. So like she was cleared in the case too. And so they're trying to kind of like pick up the pieces. I was glad that it was Angela that broke open the case. And that like I just thought it was kind of funny that like John was like the one that was like, oh no, that was Detective Lopez. Like I don't know, because I thought they were gonna, since he is the main character, I thought it was gonna be like a, John did this, which is fine. I mean, I know they do that sometimes, but I was like, yeah, girl power, like go Angela, go. Like I was happy about it. So because Angela sat Everest down, who showed her like phone. I was just talking about the trip, or like their time in Paris in general. And Angela noticed that they always had a bunch of luggage with them. And like Rowan was the one like that had all the luggage and stuff. Angela asked Everest if like she ever saw drugs on Rowan. Because I guess his family in Iowa like was in financial trouble back then. But now Rowan drives a fancy car, lives in Brentwood, like his life is fine. And I just thought it was funny, like Angela didn't even really wait for like Everest to answer. She just kind of gathered up her things with a smile on her face because like she already knew, like she figured it out.
Yeah.
That it was because of drugs. And she's like, she just kind of takes off and Everest is like, okay, I'm glad you're excited, but like wait a second. Like and no one came back to fill her and I felt bad for her. I was like, dang, okay. Yeah, but so Angela runs to John and tells him that Rowan was the one who killed Patrick. And then since the cases are connected, like, and therefore also killed Morris. And it cuts the commercial. We come back though. Rowan's golfing when Chenford pulls up to arrest him for the murders of Patrick and Morris. Patrick was the one that found out that Rowan was like smuggling drugs onto Aaron's jet and threatened to tell the police about it. So that's why he was killed. Morris found out that Rowan did kill Patrick to protect his secret, so Rowan then had to kill Morris too. They attempt to get away with like his friend or caddy or whatever. They don't get far though because the golf cart freaking like tips over after like not even a mile. It was like the funniest thing ever.
They
Um,
gift it too.
yeah,
The
they
rookie gift
did.
it. I was
Yeah,
like,
it
all
was
right.
brilliant.
I mean, I guess I
Yeah.
can use that for when like anything just goes to shit. You
Yeah,
know.
and you're just like
for-
having
yeah.
the time. Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm honestly gonna use that for when like I'm, stay up way too late like I always do, and like my one brain cell is still functioning barely. That's what I'm gonna use it for.
Literally.
Yeah. But yeah, so they don't get far obviously, because they have like police surrounding them and whatnot. Rowan's arrested and taken into custody. Um, and it cuts over Aaron's kind of reflecting on everything, and like how Rowan always had these crazy plans, and like hindsight's 2020 because he was always the one that like decided where they were flying to. I'm assuming that's so he wouldn't get like caught in like one place with the drugs or something.
Yeah.
Aaron's reflecting on how Rowan always had these crazy plans, and hindsight's like 2020 because he was always the one who decided like where they were flying to. I'm assuming that's because he didn't want to get caught with drugs in like one place or something. Who knows? But Aaron also wonders like why Patrick didn't tell him about Rowan and the drugs, because if he had, then everything would have been so different. I liked that they had the moment with Aaron and Mr. Hayes. I wasn't expecting it, but it was nice that they like had a moment. He asks if Aaron can forgive him for not believing him at first, and Aaron does and like can, and they end up hugging, which was nice. Um, Cuts back over Lucy's attempting to sum things up in her like colorful way. She kind of falls short. Like she's kind of just like realizing that like two people were dead, and even after you catch the guy, it's still just awful. And she like her hand like grazed her side where the Day of Death tattoo was. And like Melissa kind of confirmed it on Twitter by like responding to a fan that like had that theory because of like the like her ring wasn't on during that interview, so it's kind of maybe
Yeah.
why.
She responded to our friend Rachel. I didn't even catch that she like touched her side.
I just noticed, I mean, it was like really, really quick because she was kind of like sitting up. So it kind of just looked like she was like trying to get more comfortable in her chair. It was like really, really subtle, like really subtle.
I just noticed when Tim was like, yeah, it feels gross, doesn't it? Or something.
Yeah. And so it's kind of just like summing up like everyone's like kind of final thoughts. Gray's glad that like the truth finally came out and Aaron's innocence is proven without a doubt. Nala says it took Thorson a minute to win her over, but she knows he's got what it takes to be a good cop. Yvonne never once stopped believing in her son, and like she knows that he'll forgive her eventually for like lying. I was kind of surprised that Nolan was like, that's not how it works when like Aaron like being able to move on like right away. Because Nolan's like, he's had friends killed. You don't really get closure right away. But like the memories of them are still there, and he hopes that like that's what people think of when they think of like their friends that they've lost. I'm assuming this was a reference to Jackson being gone.
That's what people were saying, and I don't know, I didn't get it at first. I don't know why, but
I'm assuming. I don't know for sure though. But I don't know, just because like Nolan is so like ever optimistic, so I was very surprised that he was kind of the one to be like, no, like,
but like you also got to figure like Patrick's been gone for a while. Like, we met Aaron in what, like 403 or something. Like Patrick's been gone for a while. It's not like he was just killed like 3 episodes ago. So I'm sure Aaron's kind of moved on, or not like moved on, but like came to terms with the fact that Patrick is no longer, around.
Yep. And yeah, so like the reality show is like done for good. And Aaron's just gonna live his life for like himself and for Patrick. And that's how the episode ends. For once it was not with Nolan, or well, it was a nice change of pace. Because I thought they were gonna end it there, and I was like, that's kind of a like negative note to end it on. Like, not everyone
Yeah.
gets closure. I'm like, no, let's not. So I was glad that they ended with
Yeah.
Aaron.
I thought it was good how they ended, and I was like, okay, this needs to be like the catalyst that gets True Valentino like a regular on the show because
Ugh,
we need more of him.
yeah. Well, because he played every kind of like almost like role within a role. Like, because there's like the party boy Aaron, there's
Yeah.
like the Paris Aaron, there's the cop that he is now. Like, there's so many like sides that we saw within this one episode, and he
Yeah.
played them so well.
Yeah. I mean, like, I want to start like a change.org petition, like to get True on, but I'm also like, I don't know how like reliable those are for TV shows, but like, damn, like, I kind of want to.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Yeah. In our 3-week hiatus.
Yeah,
Why not?
something to do.
I also don't know why, but for some reason, I almost thought that they were going to be like, oh yeah, Patrick and Aaron like dated or something for a little bit. Like, I don't know. I didn't really think about it before when we were first like introduced to Aaron, but I was just like waiting for it, like in this
Oh, really?
episode. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. It was weird.
yeah. I mean, they were really, really close and like everything.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
it
why I
was.
was thinking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that like wrapped up the episode, and it was a good episode. I was so
Yeah.
excited they had another true crime like episode because like I don't know, I know not everyone was like a fan of it last season, but like I love that maybe because I am very much like Lucy and watch
Yeah.
true crime all the time, like, so, and I love documentaries, so
I
I
liked
was here
last
for it.
year's true crime, but it was hard to follow for me. And it just seemed like the cases were just kind of like out of the blue, even though we had kind of seen them before. So this one, it felt a lot different. And I was just like, I can follow it more. And it's about one of the characters that we love. But I noticed that a lot of people loved it. Like, I mean, we'll get into the listener thoughts now, but I mean, there were like, I don't think that I saw one bad like tweet or one tweet saying that this episode was bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
All positive.
but yeah, Valerie had said that she loved it. The Chenford looks and dialogue were awesome. And she loved that Lucy was joking around and Tim was being like, and Tim was just annoyed. But Valerie said, I'm glad that she got serious in the end. And so she also said, so Smitty is cute. That was pretty random, but funny. And Wesley getting interviewed with Angela was great, though now she's on the record with threatening Wesley's life. Um, yeah, I mean that or it's just like a bit between them or something.
Yeah.
And she also said she's really glad that they solved Patrick's murder and that Aaron can now move forward. The scene with Aaron and Patrick's dad felt rushed, but she's glad that they got it in.
Yeah. I think just like because like I also kind of felt that way about like the conversation between like Aaron and his mom like
Yeah,
outside of the district, but I think it was just because we were like um it was taken from that like far away angle as if like a camera was hiding somewhere, so it was kind of just
yeah,
like off kilter a little bit. I don't
yeah,
know, maybe, but um so Bonnie was like, this is one of the best episodes she's seen in a while, better than the last true crime documentary they did. um should have had Angela presenting all the info instead of Nolan, since she's a detective. Yeah, that's fair. Because like Angela would have been able to kind of like lay it out, kind
yeah.
of, or like step by step it, kind of. Um, Lucy at the end touching her tattoo. Oh, she wasn't doing very well at the end. Yeah, I think it just kind of like
Kind of hit her.
yeah, exactly.
Like she came back to reality. Not that she wasn't there in the first place, but I feel like she was kind of like more of a fangirl in the beginning. Like, oh yeah, I loved reading up on this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lydia said, of course the Chenford content was amazing. Loved to that moment when Lucy touched Tim's arm and she was rapping. she said that could have been a behind the scenes with Melissa and Eric. She also said Smitty's part was hilarious and a nod to the fans. It was cool to see Aaron's history as an influencer too, but she did feel sorry for him having this abnormal childhood and spotlights and too much money. Oh, and the Lopez scenes were cute too. They were. The behind the scenes scene, like with Melissa and Eric, as she was rapping, I mean, I need that blooper reel.
It just like reminds me of that like E1 interview that they did where like Eric was like not really singing the rookie theme song, but like attempting to sing. And
Yeah.
like Melissa kind of gave him a similar look that like his character gives her in this episode, which is funny. So
Like, I just want to know how many takes it took them to do Lucy rapping. Because I know that Eric did not have a straight face on.
yeah. Oh, Paige is great. She's just like, show me the blooper reel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And like while we're on the subject though, like season 3 blooper reel.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Just all of the bloopers, please. And behind the scenes content that like, you know, we get from time to time, but like I know that there's more. Please. Just we live for it. Jen had said definitely one of the best episodes we've had in a while. It felt consistent, the writing was solid, and we got good bits from every character without it ever feeling like there was too much going on. I agree. I totally agree. And it was all connected, which made it a lot easier, and it made it seem like everyone was on the same page. Because sometimes when they have like 3 different storylines going, it's like, okay, but is Nyla and Aaron like aware of what Tim and Lucy are doing? And so it was nice to kind of see like everyone focusing all on the same case. She also said that she really enjoyed it, and obviously the Chenford content was spectacular. That it was.
Yeah. Heather freaking loved this episode. It
Same.
was so good. So good.
It was definitely one of my favorite ones from this season. Like it was lighthearted, but it still had like, its twists and turns with it. So Diane said she loved the throwback photos, especially that one of Gray. Yeah. Did you notice when they did the scene of like Aaron in Paris or whatever? Like it was obviously a different Aaron, like because it was a younger version of him.
No, I didn't notice that.
You didn't?
No, I didn't notice. I didn't notice that the only throwback photo I noticed I mean, obviously like the Aaron with his parents as like a kid or whatever. Yeah. But then I just saw the one of Gray. I thought it was just the 4 actors playing the kids in Paris and then like,
No, it was a different Aaron.
Oh.
Yeah. Which now I want to go back and watch it, like not having to do notes and all that, and watch for, I'm totally going to butcher her name, but she had said that she stood in for Everest here and there.
Oh, yeah.
So now I want to go and see, like, maybe she did, a scene of young Everest or something. I don't know. But, yeah.
Ricardo said, didn't know that Lambo had, like the Lamborghini had color matching sneakers. Yeah, I never knew there could be so much green in like one scene.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of crazy. Happy that Gray was part of the documentary this time. Was he not the last time?
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Well then heck yeah. I'm so happy that he was a part of this one too.
That just makes this episode even better.
Yeah.
Because we got his Lord help me line too, and his face palm.
Yeah.
Smitty wasn't a part of the last one either.
Nope. Yeah. Whoever came up with the title "Every Rose Has a Thorson" needs to get an award. Yeah, that was clever.
Yeah.
And Chenford proved again that they are already married.
Seriously.
That they did.
Speaking of Smitty, have we seen Aaron and Smitty have just like a scene or two by themselves? Because imagine that.
Oh my gosh.
Aaron
That'd
would just like give him a look like what is going on?
Because like if they were on patrol together, because you know how like Aaron sometimes, not that he doesn't pay attention, but just like sometimes like things just kind of like go right past him. He
Yeah.
doesn't quite realize it yet.
Like
But, like,
the
he wouldn't
missing
have anyone-
officers.
Yeah, he wouldn't have anyone actually paying attention though, because Smitty would just be over there like drinking his soda or whatever, just like
Yeah.
sitting and chilling.
He would drink his like yoo-hoo and just like be over there just like living his best life.
Yeah.
Well,
so, like,
remember
that would
when
be-
yeah. Remember when Smithy and Jackson wrote together? I mean, like,
Mhm.
I need something like that again, for sure.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. So then Marianne had responded to a tweet in response of ours talking about the random cop looking through video footage. And Martha had said like it was supposed to be Nolan. And Marianne had kind of echoed that and said obviously it wasn't. But why did they use someone else instead of Nolan in a few of those scenes when he was looking through footage and Angela's in the room? I mean, I said it was weird to have a random cop, like I said it earlier too, instead of like Lucy or someone, but it could have just been like, it didn't make sense for anyone else to do it because they were all being interviewed and close with Aaron. But also maybe they just needed like some, other random guy, like, they needed an extra set of hands or something.
Yeah.
And he could have not been close to the case and maybe that's what they needed, but I mean, like, as for John, he was the union delegate too, so he had to stay in the room, like how he was with Gray last episode. So
Yeah. I just didn't really get like why they had to do. I mean, I get it in actual documentaries or like shorter one, like the hour-long ones. You do have reenactments, and it'll tell you it's a reenactment. So I appreciated like that, like little bit, but just like
yeah,
why? Because they did that with Aaron too. Like when he's like getting up and like found Patrick's body or whatever in
right.
Paris.
Well, that
That
makes
was just, like,
sense. That makes sense. That was not like true Valentino. That makes sense because it was like younger Aaron. Why though? It was like him with the video footage. I don't know. I was just like,
why younger
this doesn't
Nolan?
make
I don't know.
sense. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and it's not like the case happened like 20 years ago or anything. Like it,
Nope.
it's newer. So
Yep. Yep. So Janine had said, oh, this is about okay, so like for next week, can't
Yeah.
wait for Nolan and Tim to be back together, partnered up. She's wondering where Lucy will be since she's obviously not paired up with Tim. And then the following episode after that, she's thinking maybe that's when Aaron and Tim are paired up together. Oh, maybe. Because that'll be what? Okay, so if they air, because if the show's usually done right around like mid May, so
Mid-May.
it's assuming they're gonna have like back to back episodes.
I think
Maybe?
Janine had said that like we're supposed to have the 3-week hiatus and then maybe like 5 or 6 episodes like back to back, which would tee us up then for end of or like middle of May, end of May maybe. Because I think we're supposed to get that with a few other shows too. Like we're coming up on another hiatus, which is fine by me, please. I've got like 1,000 other things going on. So
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Definitely be cool to have another Brolin like episode.
yeah.
For this episode, she was a little bit hesitant because she enjoyed the like true crime for Chenford last time, but it was a little hard to follow. This one she said was great. She enjoyed how everyone was interviewed. And like everyone was like individually interviewed except for Lopez and Chenford.
Yeah.
One married couple, one practically married couple.
Even Bailey and John weren't interviewed together.
Yeah. Oh, and that's Janine. Yeah, that's Janine's next point. Yeah, even the other actual couple, Bailey and John, were separated. She had a feeling that like it was Aaron's father or like the friend of his that killed Morris. Patrick's father coming to apologize and asking for forgiveness. That was a good scene. She liked how Aaron's like kind of finding his groove and like using his skills, because he said at the end how he like could see things through like cop eyes now. Yeah, I liked that too. And a rookie Gray was on the murder of Lincoln's partner back in the day. Yeah, that was like a full circle moment. Janine said that now that Aaron's like under his command. Yeah, definitely.
Which I wonder if like he remembered that, like when Aaron came on to the force and like got at the LAPD Wilshire district, like I wonder if he put the two and two together, like the last names.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Nyla looks adorable with the baby bump. Yeah, it was cool that like we actually got to like see it. She was hysterical at the end, praising that Aaron will be a good cop, but they'll have to wait to air that until after his training. Yeah, it's funny because like of course Nyla has to maintain that like front, like being tough.
Yeah,
so
I love her.
Yeah,
like that's the classic Nyla line. Love it.
Yeah, that was so great. Do you want to finish?
Sure. Janine also said we got baby Jackson again. Obviously a baby dummy in the carriage, but she loved the fact that Wesley crashed her interview. I don't know what else to call that, the baby, like a baby doll. I don't know, because it does make sounds.
Yeah, well, like I always wonder, like, how do they do that? Is it just like a recording that they have, and then you have to like?
It's got to be your like special effects or something.
Like I don't know, because it's like Wesley's still like talking as it's happening, so it's like I don't know if it is like maybe it's something they add in like post-production or something. Because like I don't know how I would be able to like talk or like recite my lines and have this like sound just happen.
Yeah. Well, and even like, okay, so the baby is like more than a few months old at this point. Like, I don't know. Usually when the babies are older, they're not just always in the car seat. I don't know. It's like, okay, when are we actually going to see the child, or are we just never going to see him? And it's always going to be like a baby.
Gotta at least be 6 months old by now.
Has to be.
Because if we had the like was it 3 or 4 month time jump or something?
And the show came back in September. So what, like the baby was born in like June? No.
Something. I don't see. That's what I mean. It's like
the rookie timeline is weird because like they don't, I don't know. Someone was like, they don't cover COVID in the rookie, but then William was like, but COVID is very prevalent on set, and I was like, well, yeah. But
well, I think it's just because like the rookie year, like if you think about it in 2018, so in a whole year and a half would still put them 2019 going into 2020,
right,
prior to the pandemic.
So. Yeah,
it's the whole thing. The timeline is
not
exactly.
But like I wonder how much longer they'll go with baby Jackson as like a baby doll, because like he can't be 4 or whatever and like still be in the carriage like that. I don't know.
Yeah, or just like not like just be heard and not seen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's fine, like if we don't see him all the time, but like it would be unrealistic to not see him like once or twice, She said, I love the fact that Wesley crashed her interview. They were the cutest. And she has to admit that Angela being a detective is the best thing that they did on the show. I mean, truth. Big time. Like that is the best thing. And she loves the camaraderie of the relationships that like Angela has built with all the officers. She loves that, and she has to admit that she likes her Angela and Nolan teamed up together too. I do too. Like it's a pairing that I didn't know that I needed. And then Janine was like, "Oh yeah, Nolan, your girl is a flow girl too." which is funny. She's like a jack of all trades. And then Janine had said that, okay, now on to the subject of Chenford. She said, OMG, the touching of Tim's arm and his reaction sent the fandom into a frenzy. She loves how Lucy gets all fangirl over true crime and Tim can't be bothered with it. She said the best line was, why are you so happy? And that was a stupid question. She said you always get good comedy relief from the both of them. And at the end, she touched her tattoo and it clicked to her that two people are dead. And nothing can bring them back. She said she thinks, Janine said, I think she thought of all she lost and would have loved one scene after the cameras were off and Tim asking if she was okay and if she needed anything. That would have been cute.
Mm-hmm. Of course, the camera. I mean, they did like that parallel, right? Of like when Chenford like was getting up to leave and like Lucy was like following after Tim or whatever. And they did that, like the camera stuck on like Aaron when he got up to leave, like in the middle of the interview though.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have it like at the end, you know, like to finish it out.
But even if they were walking away and Tim was like, are you okay? Like he thought he whispered it, but the camera picked it up too. My God.
Mm-hmm.
That would be chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that is it for this episode. You guys can find us on Twitter at the Shop Talk Pod _ or email us at shoptalktherookiepodcast@gmail.com with any of your thoughts. If you guys watch any other shows, like, we would love to know. We are going to be catching up on shows, binging stuff, with this hiatus. So yeah, I mean, we're always on to talk TV. You can find us individually on Twitter too. I'm at jstark804.
And I'm at Kari Hyman.
And we have a TeePublic store with some rookie merch if you want to rep some of that. Otherwise, we'll be around on Twitter. I don't know what we're doing next week.
Yeah, we have no idea.
So we'll keep you guys posted. We might be taking a break. We might be doing an episode. We might just cover someone like one of the actors' old works. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll let you guys know. And that's it for us. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Go get him, boo.